Welcome to God with George Ortega. This is episode number 58. I'm recording it on Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 at 7:19 p.m. Eastern Time. And this series is about God. Um, and it's like, I've got to try to figure out how to connect God with what's going on. Basically, I just finished watching a half an hour video that I accessed through a site called statuscoup.com. Statuscoup, C-O-U-P, all one word, .com, and it's half an hour of these revolutionaries, insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them, trying to break through these doors under a tunnel that leads to the U.S. Capitol, fighting with police. I think in this case, the police there were able to restrain them, to not allow them to go in through this entrance. Obviously, they went through other entrances. Um, and so how do you make sense of this? I mean, or we have this understanding that God wants what's best for us, for all of us, including these people who believe Trump's lies, who basically believe they're doing the right thing. And they continue to believe this. So, I mean, I'm just, connecting this with God. There has to be a lot of speculation on my part, I guess. You know, and let me reach it for basically, let me put a positive spin on this, I guess, or the idea that a lot of times a lot of good comes from a lot of bad, a lot of evil. Um, the Civil War ended slavery. After the Great Depression, we had Social Security. We had so many reforms that make life so much better for so many Americans. Um, After World War II, the world was much safer. We had a Cold War after that, but democracies, well, a lot more democracies. Basically, so what I think may be happening, um, an analogy, I guess, is childbirth. There's a lot of pain involved in bringing a life into this world. I mean, you'd have to go through it, I suppose, to really understand that. But whether it's 6 hours or 12 hours, the labor's got to be really painful. But then something wonderful, a baby comes into this world, and so this I think can be seen in this light. To go back, into our history, I think this, if I can speculate, what would this seems to be, what seems to be happening now is perhaps analogous to what happened, I think maybe 10,000 years ago. I'm not really so certain about my history. Could have been much longer. I don't know. It's basically, you had these two competing um, kinds of people. You had Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons, and we, who are here now are Cro-Magnons. We're basically the more evolved of these two, you know, species, I guess, of Homo sapiens, of, 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 humans. I don't know what you call them. But anyway, what happened was, there was a time when I imagine that the Neanderthals were much bigger, you know, I imagine they were very aggressive, you know. They're just very bellicose. And the Cro-Magnons who we descended from were probably smaller but more intelligent and probably more peaceful. So I imagine that at a certain point, through battles, who knows what happened back then, the era of Neanderthals, and this was, I guess, an entire, again, body of people, became extinct, you know, and so that naturally led to a more godly world, a world filled with more goodness, less violence, less hostility. And I think we can look forward to what's happening now as an example of that kind of evolution. You have a lot of people in the world who are very aggressive, who hate others, who basically prey on the weak. And Trump is like a perfect, poster child for this kind of person. Their conscience is very weak. They're not very intelligent, and they pose a danger to everyone else. And this seems to be the climax, at least in this country, of people like that. They were probably the same people who were the slaveholders, who we fought the Civil War against, who confused right and wrong, and and this group of people, and you have to understand that God made us all, you know, not only to seek pleasure and avoid pain, but to do what we believe is right. It's very important to remember this. Like, these insurrectionists, these revolutionaries, they still, many of them believe they're doing what's right. And again, they're based on their believing Trump's lies, based on their not being apparently intelligent enough to understand that Trump is lying. Um, and so this group, it's far beyond them. It's like it's like the basically, all right, to put this in a much larger context, this what's happening now is just a very insignificant event compared to what we're facing in the future. And I return to this over and over again because I've read books. I've read at least a half dozen books on this. I've written a couple of books that I address climate change, this 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 civilization destroying threat that we're facing, and the same kind of people who aren't that bright and are very aggressive are the people who are preventing us from fighting this uber important um, war against climate change. To just it may be too late to stop it. It may be that civilization is just. I mean, our scientists tell us it's probably too late, but at least we can prevent the worst manifestations of it. For future for our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. So again, putting this in context, you ask yourself, well, why would God allow this? This kind of insurrection, this kind of why would God allow Trump to exist and all, and piece it all together? And perhaps it makes sense. Perhaps it makes sense that, like, even our best politicians, the Democrats, they don't care all that much. Or these Democratic politicians, their main goal is to get reelected. You know, and so they don't take chances. They don't they don't defend our civilization, or the climate of the planet, our future, like they should. They haven't been fighting the Republicans who've been, again, the Republicans are the army of these people. The Republican Party has been so callous, so indifferent, so cruel in so many ways. I mean, the only issue that I really agree with them on is abortion. I think it's extremely wrong to be killing as many, you know, lives every year through abortion as die of every other cause combined. But beside that, the Republican Party has just like, you know, it's the party of greed, of selfishness and stupidity that now has reached the climax where now certainly the climate, with what's happening with the climate, um, threatens us for decades. But now, they think they're so stupid that they think they could take over our country, and they're willing to kill people. They're willing to die. So basically, getting back to this like analogy with the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnons, I think just like we ended slavery and we ended the slave holders, I think God is doing this so that we can end the power that these people wield, through their aggressive nature, through their deceit, their lack of morality, their lack of an understanding of morality. And, sure, we wish, we would hope and pray that there would be better means, and I'm sure there will be in the future, like 50, 100 years from now, you know, something like this will be unthinkable because we will have evolved to a point where we settle, we don't yell at each other and just like try to win our point of view through lies and deceit, whatever. We rationally investigate things and analyze things and civilly, to the benefit of everyone, figure things out. That's the kind of world we're leading into, and I think this is a pivotal moment in that, because again, the United States, if this was happening, this things like this happen in third world countries, in failed states, but to happen in the leader of the world, the richest country in the world, the most powerful by far, our military is more powerful than the rest of the world's military combined. So for this to be happening in the most powerful, richest, most influential country in the world, I think tells you that God is basically leading us to a much brighter future by creating circumstances like the Civil War, where the Democrats, who've been way too passive, after the 2000 election, when the Supreme Court so immorally, so criminally took stopped that recount so that Bush would win, the Democrats should have been up in arms. Well, not literally, but, the Democrats should have really been fighting, like hell, after that. But they haven't. Again, now they're in a situation, in a position where they can't refuse to fight. It's in other words, the country is at stake, and so apparently this is what was needed to turn the country around. Again, Trump becoming president is an indication. I mean, this started with Reagan in the 80s, who considered government, the enemy of the people instead of understanding. And Reagan was an idiot. He really was. Reagan didn't understand that government is for and by the people and of the people. Reagan just considered the government this like amorphous institution that was just wanted to tax people. The guy was a moron. He just didn't understand. He started this Republican Revolution that now is climaxing here. So again, I sent a message to some people recently, and the title of the message was like, the second civil war is just over now. This was like, and fortunately for us, these revolutionaries are not that bright. They just aren't. To think that they can prevail, attacking the Capitol building to overturn an election. I mean, the height of stupidity. Um, but again, so like taking it in perspective, because they did that, because this has reached the climax, that it's not just the Democrats that can't ignore this. You have major corporations, Chase, Merrill Lynch, all these corporations that love to, in the past, love to defend and support the Republican Party so they can make more money, now realize, oh, I don't think we can do that anymore because I think we need our country in order to make money. If Trump would have made himself a dictator if he could have, I think that's pretty clear by now. Um, and so now it's not just the Democratic Party that's now forced to fight. It's now the corporations that are forced to side with goodness. And again, the Democrats, a lot of times they talk a good game, but um, their people, the politicians are often too invested in their own personal careers to really say and do what's necessary. But at least they've been on the right side. you know you know this is the party of FDR, of Roosevelt, who created, I mean, you just I wish I had a website that all the benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, weekends, no more child labor, Social Security. I mean, there's so many things that came out of the FDR's administration, that we didn't enjoy before. And so that's who the Democrats should have been. And now I think that's the Democratic Party that's going to have to be. And I'm sorry about getting too political about this, but this is like God working through politics. In other words, like, you can say to yourself, well, this is so horrible, this is so horrible. And yes, it is horrible, but so is the horror of childbirth. So, and I think we're fortunate, we're for 1864, 65, whatever. We had a civil war. So many people died. It was a really bloody war. It was a horrible war. We've had 5 fatalities in this. We're very, very fortunate that even though, it's telling, I think it's telling that we as a people, see this footage. Again, go to status coup, COUP.com. It'll a half-hour video that you don't generally see on the networks, and you'll see how vicious it was. How these people are just like, they were anarchists. They're just like, to them this was a war. So but we in the world today are repulsed by that. Thankfully, thank God, and it seems that God is poised to thrust us into a much more peaceful, honest world because of this. Now, let's deal with honesty. One of the commandments, and I'm not sure which one it is, thou shalt not bear false witness, that thou shalt not lie. This insurrection, this rebellion happened because we allow lies. How bad is it? Any senator in our Senate can go up and talk for as long as he wants, say as many lies as he wants in the Senate, in this institution of ours, and there's no prosecution. It's legal for them to do that. Trump, so basically what I'm trying to say is, like, lies are what created this. And I think we're finally understanding, as a country, probably as a world, that we can no longer afford to allow lies to destroy us, to pit people against each other, to have people think they're doing the right thing because someone's misinformed them. And naturally, where lies are the most harmful potentially is climate change. Because people say, oh no, it's not happening, oh it's not serious, oh no, we're not causing it. These are all lies, and they know these are lies. These lies are, you know, spread by people who are benefiting from the fossil fuel industry, benefiting from our not taking the action we need to take on climate change. And so so it's this is like this I think it's so God I think is made this happen to make us understand that no, our lives are not as secure as we believed they were, especially even in this greatest country, this most evolved, well, in some ways. I mean, I think Europe's more evolved in some ways, the Scandinavian countries. I mean, you know, who happen to be a lot more socialist than we are. Like kids can go to, college for free there, you know. So, for something like this to happen in this country, it's like God saying, well, all right, you know, I'm going to make, I'm going to have you, I'm going to put you in a circumstance where you're going to make the world a lot better. You're going to understand that lies are a lot more dangerous than you thought they were. You need to understand that aggression and hostility and incivility, the kind of insults that Trump hurled at people, gave people permission to aggress against others, to be hostile toward others. And that's another part of what happened. So between the lies and the aggression, we God is we can't tolerate this kind of behavior, this kind of reality anymore. And our only choice is to end it. So obviously, we're going to have to create some laws. Like we're going to have to create enough laws so a person like Trump doesn't have a chance, any kind of a chance of getting elected to dog catcher. Just like, his telling people at rallies, oh yeah, just punch him in the face, I'll pay your legal fees. He should have been dragged off that stage and put into prison immediately after that. And that should be one of the laws. You incite violence in your crowd, you go straight to prison. So all right, and that's just one example of the many of the various laws that we're going to have to enact. We used to believe, oh, were decent, but now we're understanding that no, people need an incentive to understand decency. All right, I've got about 5 minutes left. And I'm glad I watched that video. Again, the site is statuscoup.com. I'm going to see if they have any other videos because, like, I don't get cable TV. I've been listening to the CNN and MSNBC TV shows on my phone. The audio is, they present it for free. So, like, I've been listening to all the shows, but like, they don't present. This was a half an hour video taken by somebody right there, where people were, there was like a mob, and it just like, there had to have been hundreds of people just trying to ram themselves through a door, being stopped by the police. And the police were extremely non-aggressive. I mean, they could have shot bullets, rubber bullets or whatever at the crowd. They didn't. They just relied on their batons and these, shields, to their credit. I'm not sure actually that was so wise. I don't know. But anyway, this is, to the if we understand that God created us for happiness and for virtue, and we understand that sometimes we as people need to be punished before we understand right from wrong, just as our children, times need to be punished. We're in this stage of evolution where something this horrible, like again, and they're not done yet. I mean, but they are done. They don't realize it yet. Over the next year or two, I would imagine hundreds, if not thousands, are going to be, probably put into prison for I don't know how long, but They're they're not intelligent to understand that their cause, you know, was lost from the beginning. But the idea is that, like, because of this, we now see the danger, the harm of lies, of lies, allowing our politicians to lie at will, and the harm of the rhetoric. And this is also the media. Fox News, just started this like this really horrible way of talking to people about people, you know, so far from civil, just like, inciting hatred among people, and so this, I think this has to, and I'm just like doing this off the cuff. So, like, lies, hateful speech, and they, a lot of these people think, oh, First Amendment. No, First Amendment does not allow you to say anything you want. It doesn't allow you to lie in a way that hurts people and kills people. No, cigarette manufacturers, they're not allowed to lie and say their cigarettes are safe. You're not allowed to 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 yell fire in a crowded theater. There are many kinds of speech that are prohibited. Hate speech. You're not allowed to call somebody by any kind of, like, bigoted name. That's against the law because it is so vile. And so, like, we're in a point where the the lies and the hostility, the aggression got to the point where it erupted in this that's a danger to us all. So now, it seems the worst is over. Now we can, like, look forward to God now helping us create a better country. And as we create a better country, the world is going to get much better. And fortunately, hopefully, we can apply this to climate change, because again, that is, this little insurrection is like a blip compared to climate change. All right, that's all I have time for today. I'll try to, stay closer to God tomorrow. But anyway, watch watch these episodes every Monday through Friday on White Plains Community Media Channel 76 if you get Optimum, 45 if you get Verizon. And when I get around to it, I mean, there's a bunch of episodes on YouTube already. There's a playlist for the series, but you can watch them there also. And it's interesting because I'm going to have to try to figure out how to weave God into what's going on, because it's, religion needs to be involved in politics, because that politics is often how good things happen. That's all I have time for, and God willing, I'll see you again soon.